America is Atlantis. It is a fact that at Memphis, Egypt, in the pyramids, under the guidance of the kings, the mystic rites were worked many thousands of years ago. But at that time, Egypt and the continent of America were one and the same. In America, rediscovered in the 15th century and repopulated in the 17th, was recovered Egypt and the Promised Land, or the land of the constellation of the eagle. No matter how numerous or complicated the works of a lock may be, if but the right key be applied, the Great Pyramid proves to be the long-sought key to the mysteries at once of mythology and of the great world religions, with the consequent wrecking of the continent of America when the globe became involved in the consequences of the disorder of the skies. America, known to the mystic as Atlantis, when this ruin befell, was the seat of the greatest empire that has ever existed, and its irresistible armies were terrorizing all Europe and Asia. Study of the American constellations Scorpio, Sagittarius, and Capricornus reveals the immemorial antiquity of the name of America and the significance of the arms of the United States. The fact once recognized that it is impossible to separate the eagle from America, the land shadowed with wings of Isaiah, over which accordingly appear two grand eagles, the red swan flying down the Milky Way, and the winged steeds, Yegasus and Equelus, all the wings known to astronomy, without taking the bear from Russia, Perseus from Persia, and a flood of light is poured upon the history and mythology, and where heretofore much has been vague and inscrutable, now we are able at least to see men as trees walking. When following the course of the constellations, those immovable and perpetually fastened upon America are reached, it will appear that while all that is sublime in the historic past centers upon Egypt, all that is sublime in the prehistoric past centers upon America, in parenthesis, Atlantis, and as a curtain which has hitherto concealed the prehistoric connection between the peoples of ancient Egypt and of America is lifted, it will be seen that the people of the eagle on the Nile, being descended from the original people of the eagle on this continent, the twain are one, and that prehistoric America was the original Egypt or eagle land prior to the mighty dispensation in the days of Peleg, capital P-E-L-E-G, when the earth was divided and the great globe itself was nearly rent asunder. Says Yegasus, capital A-G-A-S-S-I-Z, firstborn among continents, America has been falsely denominated the New World. Hers was the first dry land lifted out of the waters. Hers was the first shore washed by the ocean that enveloped all the earth besides. And while Europe was represented only by islands rising here and there above the sea, America, in parentheses Atlantis, already stretched in an unbroken line of land from Nova Scotia, that's capital N-O-V-A, and then Scotia, capital Scotia, to the far west. America was evidently peopled from the old continent, because there were only 8 persons saved at the deluge, capital Deluge. The principal part of their posterity during the whole of the 1st century after that event occupied the very center of Asia. Some say that America was peopled by the Carthaginians, that's capital Carthaginians, who possessed the Cape Verde Islands, that's capital Cape, and then capital Verde, capital Islands, Cape Verde Islands, which are only 3 weeks' sail from that continent. Their ships, having women and children on board, might miss the intended island before the invention of the compass, and if so, they would inevitably be driven by the trade winds to the coast of America. Others, judging from the similarity of some religious rites, have conjectured that it was peopled by the 10 tribes at the dispersion of Israel. Some think it received its population from China or Japan. Others that it was colonized by some wandering tribes of Japhet, who penetrated into the trackless regions of North America by the Straits of Aslan. That's capital Aslan. Some have been bold enough to assert that America was not inundated at the deluge, and that consequently the aborigines were antediluvians and the most ancient people on earth, in parentheses, which last assertion is correct. Others suppose that there were a few individuals preserved on this vast continent of the deluge, that it might be without difficulty repeopled. And we are told that America was peopled after the deluge at the same time, as it were, with other parts of the earth equidistant from the spot whereon the ark is acknowledged to have grounded. For the grand division of the eastern and western hemispheres, through the natural effect of causes operating from the deluge, did not take place till about half a century after that event, and thus a subject that has uniformly puzzled the most learned historians and philosophers, and given ground for the most elaborate dissertations, namely, the manner by which America was peopled, appears to be made simple and easy, as are all those questions that are submitted to the ordeal of truth, the infallible attestations of Holy Writ. Robertson supposes the Americans to have derived their origin from the Asiatics, supports his conjecture by some ancient traditions amongst the Mexicans, which ascribe their primitive population to a horde from a remote country to the northwest, whose gradual progress from the northern coast, where they landed, to the interior provinces is distinctly traced. And in the emphasis of Christianity, Mexico is said to have been in a more advanced state of civilization than Denmark, Sweden, and Russia. From what people soever Americans descended, or in whatever manner that vast continent was originally furnished with human beings, it is ascertained that the first inhabitants brought with them a system of mysteries which they applied to the purpose of religious worship, and though this system in process of time was almost entirely lost amongst the scattered tribes, which led an erratic life in its deepest wilds, yet the truths on which it was founded were preserved in a deteriorated form by the 2 great nations which had planted themselves on each side of the Isthmus of Panama. That's capital Isthmus of Panama, capital Panama. Of this there can be no doubt. The pyramids were built by Atlanteans long centuries before Egypt was a civilized country, Why then were they built in Egypt instead of on some part of what is now America? Because Egypt was then the center of the earth, and the Atlanteans with their vast knowledge sought the center, for that will stand as long as time.